Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing.
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I have 20 spring Dollar Tree DIYs for you, and I hope that these inspire you. For the first one, we're going to make a spring wreath, and I'm using the Dollar Tree's wreath form, the large one. This is the 18-inch metal frame and some of their burlap roll. I'm just going to flip it over to get started, and I'm just going to start by hot gluing the burlap roll here to the back of the frame to get us started. And I am simply going to wrap the entire wreath form. Now, I know from doing large wreaths like this from the Dollar Tree that one of these burlap rolls is almost enough, but not quite. So I have a backup there. And you can use any rolled burlap that you can get. I know it can be a little hard to get at Dollar Tree. Whenever I see it, I always try to grab it though, because it's great. Look at this. And it's just the right size to wrap it. I just slightly overlap it a bit. This is how far one roll goes, so I'm going to start and stop. And luckily it stopped right on the back, so I don't have to cut anything off. I can just glue one piece of the burlap roll to the next and keep wrapping. My seam will be there on the back. So I am covering it pretty good. This is going to have multiple rolls, the burlap. I'm going to have part of the wreath visible with the burlap, but it's also going to give me a great thing to attach things to this wreath form. I just make sure to end it here on the back once I got it all covered with a little bit of hot glue back there. And we have a burlap wreath form. I love burlap as a starter for a wreath form. I don't like frilly wreath forms. I always like a little bit more of a rustic feel. For the birdhouse, I picked up this garden pick from the Dollar Tree. And so it is a pick, so I just removed the little metal piece. But you know what? It also takes the little perch. So I'm just going to replace that with a skewer, like pointy end down, and I can just cut that off. I'm using my miter scissors there. I just needed something that was about the same size because that metal was really hard to bend and break, and this would be a little bit easier. I just put some hot glue there on the pointy end and attach it back in there. Raw wood like that is fine. I love the galvanized metal for this, but you could also do this with one of the wood birdhouses from the Dollar Tree. What I like about this one is that it's skinny, so it's not going to stick out far on the wreath. And I'm also going to add some burlap to the roof just to attach some fun. So I just cut out a piece of that burlap ribbon. And a really great way to cut this is just to pull a string right where you need your burlap. And it's a great way to cut the burlap without it fraying. And it gives you a little path there to use your scissors to cut it down to size. I'm just going to attach this to the top of the birdhouse with a little bit of hot glue. And I'm going to have two sections on this wreath form. I'm going to have florals, beautiful moss and everything up on the top left. And I'm going to have a birdhouse, a bird nest, that kind of thing down in the bottom right corner like this. So I think that looks pretty good. And now it's time to start planting the greenery. I had a vision for this one. I wanted soft pink flowers. So I went to Dollar Tree and I found the softest pink flowers I could find. And then I also want lots of greenery. So I'm going to use this one right here. It's not my favorite, but I think it's going to work. And some other baby's breath. I ended up not using quite that much. And I also found some of this greenery. It's like a boxwood with like little berries, like little dots all over, and I chose the white one. Now this is some greenery that I had left over, so it's not all quite there, but some of them are still together with like two, and so I'm going to leave those together on their wire, but the individual ones I end up just removing the wire and just using those. That way I can have some smaller pieces and some larger pieces to build out this wreath. I'm going to do the same thing here with the second bundle of that. Kind of a cheaper feeling plant, but it actually looks pretty nice. So I thought it would work well for this. I'm going to start with two pieces on each side, having them meet in the middle, like right here. And since I'm attaching so many, I'm going to go ahead and zip tie this to attach it to the wreath form. But for the rest of it, I don't use zip ties just because I didn't really want to have to go back and cover all of these zip ties up. As you can see, they're pretty visible at this point, but you won't be able to see that in the end. Now, I've made a lot of wreaths on my channel, and I think this is my favorite wreath that I've ever made. It turned out so pretty. I'm going to have a terrible time taking this down when the season is over. But you know what? You could probably leave it up all summer if you wanted to. Now, for the baby's breath, I'm just going to cut them in individual pieces. Really, a little goes a long way on these. I think that's going to work. And I couldn't decide if I should leave the leaves on them or take them off. I do end up taking them off because I felt like it took away from the rest of the greenery, the feel of it that I was going for. I just put those underneath that same zip tie, just using a little hot glue to tack them down to the burlap. And this is one great thing about the burlap. You can kind of poke your greenery in there. You can use hot glue to attach it. I am going to reinforce that because this is going to be on my door, so I don't want any of the stuff falling off. But for right now, I can just kind of poke it in the burlap, tack it down with some hot glue, and I'm layering. So I used some of the baby's breath, and then I'm going back in with that original greenery. And I want it to be a variety of florals on the sides, but that's when I decided I didn't really like the leaves on the baby's breath. So that's okay. They were only tacked down. I can go ahead and just pop those off and remove the leaves on this one. And I do that for all of the ones that I attached. I think 4 bundles of the baby's breath is enough. It provides a nice white. And there you can also use some of the white flowers from Dollar Tree, the little tiny white flowers. That could work as well. And then I'm just going to start tacking down the greenery. I did another layer of that fern kind, and then I also have this boxwood that also has the little white berries all over, so I think that's going to go really good with the color scheme. I wanted a lot of green and white for a nice background for those soft pink flowers that I found from the Dollar Tree. Now, if you can't find some pink flowers quite as light as mine, you could always paint them or whitewash them. They actually paint pretty well. And I am just going all over with the greenery, again, layering. Now I'm down to the individual pieces of like the fern-like plant here. And I just make sure I do it symmetrical. So if I add it to one side, I add it to the other, and I try to add it in about the same place. So another boxwood here. And I just want it to look full and lush, but only on this half of the wreath form. To reinforce it, I'm just going to use some Dollar Tree twine. It's going to blend in well with the burlap that we have on there, and it's going to be easier to work with than wire or even zip ties. So let me show you how I go about doing it. I start here at the bottom and I tie it on right here. I'm going to hide that back here in the back. And then I'm just going to simply take my roll and start wrapping this around. In between all those different layers, tying all of the greenery down. It's going to make it a lot sturdier on my front door when it is open and shut, and I won't have to worry about any of this stuff falling off. And I just simply take my time, go between each layer, and wrap this around. Now, you can still kind of see it against the burlap, but I have a plan to hide all of that and to make this part of the wreath look really full and lush. So that is half of it. As you can see, it's symmetrical on each side of the zip tie. I did the same exact thing. And again, I just want everything tied down, but I don't want any of it being tied down. I'm just tying down the stems. I want all the greenery to be plush and out there. So that looks pretty good. I'm just going to wrap this around to the back. You can see about how many times I wrapped it and tie this off on the back. Originally, I was going to cover the entire wreath form with greenery, but I really loved how the burlap looked, and so I'm going to leave some parts of it just with burlap, but I do want lots of moss on there. So I'm going to use some of the Dollar Tree reindeer moss and just start breaking it apart in pieces about the same shape that I need, and I'm going to cover any of the wreath form on this section where you can see the burlap or you can see some of the twine or even the zip tie. So basically I'm just going to piece it together, and it's going to make it look really lush and green for spring, and it's serving another purpose because it's covering up any of the parts of the wreath that I don't want you to see. And it's very lightweight. It holds up well outdoors. For me, even here in Florida, with the hot glue and the moss, especially when you're gluing it to like a burlap surface. I did that with my mossy basket wreath that I did recently on my channel, and it has held up really well outside. And I am just going here on this side too. Every little piece that you could see any of the burlap peeking through or any of the twine or anything like that, I just patch it with a little bit of that reindeer moss. I used a whole package for this just to go in all the different areas here. And as you can see, it makes this part of the wreath look really green and finished. I absolutely love how this turned out. My favorite project is coming up though. We're not quite to it yet. For the flowers, these are the soft pink flowers that I found. I'm just taking them off of their stems and using some hot glue on the stem to glue it down into the reindeer moss and the burlap. Both of those are going to help hold that on there. No need to wire these on there or anything. I do 3 coming down the left side like this, evenly spaced out, and then I'm going to do 3 going out the other direction. And then I'm going to do 3 in a cluster where it kind of all comes together. So this is the 3rd one for this one. And for where the 3 come together, I'm going to kind of cluster them together like 3, like a little triangle. They're all about the same size, but I just love the colors. I think this is so pretty for spring. And again, I just put these like almost in a triangular pattern. Now it's time to attach our birdhouse. We can start working on this side of the wreath form. There was really no way to tie this on. There's no holes in it, or that would be easy to attach it. And I didn't really want to drill into the metal, so I'll show you what I end up doing. I just take some twine and some more burlap. It could be any fabric, and basically I glue it to the back, and then I make a little patch here to reinforce it with the burlap and the hot glue, and that should make it a little bit stronger. And I am going to just tie this around with the burlap. Right here in this corner, I want to leave a little room because I want to make a bird's nest for this one because I had a bird theme going into this. And I definitely want a little bird on there. I do want a little bit more of the green reindeer moss coming out on the sides. I'm so glad I can find this at my stores again, very plentiful. I thought about ordering a case online, but my stores always seem to carry it, and I keep stocking up on it because I use it for all of my spring crafting, especially like my fairy gardens and stuff like that. So I do a little bit more coming out both the sides of the florals. Now it's time to make a little bird's nest. I have some Dollar Tree raffia. We're making everything from scratch on this one, even the bird. So let me show you how I end up doing it. First, I'm going to take a needle and thread. And then I realized how old I am because I could not see the hole in that needle, but we persevered. I never sew either. My mom was a seamstress, not me. And I am just going to start simply wrapping this around my hand just to see how much of the raffia I need. And I think that's going to be enough, so I just cut off the excess. I wasn't sure exactly how I could build this, but what I did ended up working really well. So I have my little bundle, and I put my hot glue directly on my silicone mat. That is the great thing about these silicone mats. You can actually use them for crafting like this. So I did a circle, and I just lay my raffia right on there, forming that circle the right size that I want, and I am going to hot glue it to itself, circling it around into a nest shape. I am going to use my needle and thread to reinforce this to keep this round shape of the little bird's nest, but I was really impressed with how easy this was to make with just Dollar Tree or raffia. If you don't have a silicone mat like this, I have the one that I use linked in my Amazon shop in the description of today's video. It's called a monster mat. It's huge. You don't have to get one this big, but I love it. It is great for crafting. I just take my needle and thread and basically sew through there. I'm going to go one in each corner here in quadrants, and basically going in and out of the center, wrapping it around the edges and tying it off. Now for the rest of the nest, I thought it would be fun to add a little bit of Spanish moss. I have been trouble finding that at my Dollar Tree, but I have a little bit left over from other DIYs. I just glue a little bit inside my nest, and I'm also going to glue some on the bottom because I think it looks cool, and that can cover up the hot glue down there too. And we have a cute little bird's nest. It was so easy to make. Isn't that adorable? And there's other things you could have used for that too, but that is really the only material I had. Now it's time to DIY a bird. I'm just going to cut out some cardboard and cut a slit in it, and I'm also going to be using a 4-pronged fork. For this, I'm going to use some of this eyelash yarn from the Dollar Tree. I thought we could try to make a pom-pom bird with this. Now, I didn't have any yarn that was a coordinating color, and I needed something stronger than the eyelash yarn, so I used a little bit of jute twine in there. And then I just simply start wrapping this around. I put my jute twine in the slot first, and then I wrapped it about 50 times around my cardboard. I wish I'd had a little bit stronger cardboard. It wanted to cave in on me a little bit, but it still worked. And then I take my twine and I gather it together like this, making it go through the little slot there and tie it off once. And now I can pull it off. I'm also going to tie it as tight as I can and double knot this, leaving the twine on there to be able to attach this to the head of the bird. This is a little bit longer, so that's going to be the body. And one difference from a yarn pom-pom is you don't cut the loops on this. It has that eyelash fringe, and it makes it nice and fluffy already, so you don't need to cut it again. Now for the head, I want to make a smaller pom-pom. So I put my twine down the center of the fork and grab it. And again, I wrap it around 50 times. I count it just so I can kind of make sure exactly how much I put on my fork. And then I cut off it right here. And then you bring your twine through one of the middle of the fork there, and you can tie that off. Once you get it tied, you can slide it off your fork and double knot it. Now, this is what I have so far. Again, you don't have to cut the loops. It's already fluffy enough. You can fluff out your loops a little bit. But basically, I want to attach the head to the body of the bird. So I just line up my matching twine here and tie this off. I double knot it. Again, I wish I had some matching yarn because I do need to cut these off so you can't see them. I don't want that brown to show through. But I thought it would be stronger to keep my bird attached than to use that eyelash yarn, which is a little bit delicate. So right now I have a tiny pom-pom and a larger pom-pom. The tiny pom-pom is the head. I'm going to shape that out a little bit. I love the fluff on this because I don't have to add feathers or anything like that. You can fluff it out to make it look like tail feathers and stuff like that. And now it just needs a beak and some eyes. For the beak, I'm using just some orange felt from the Dollar Tree, and I cut out a little rectangle. I'm going to fold that over. I want a top beak and a bottom beak, so I just cut out 2 tiny triangles, just trying them on. This bird is really small, so I'm going to make them a little bit smaller and attach them with hot glue. Now, the reason I wanted to do a bluebird for this is bluebirds really hold a special place in my heart. My mom passed away about 6 years ago, and she would always send me bluebirds. She still does on occasion. And I love seeing a bluebird. It's so funny. One day after she died, I even had a bluebird flying next to my car, next to my driver's window, like all the way up an exit ramp. It was the craziest thing. I saw them everywhere. For the eyes, I just used some of the little plastic dot stickers from the Dollar Tree that I had painted black for a previous DIY. I hot glued one on each side of the bird's head, and we have a little bluebird. I think it's so cute. I'm obsessed with it. Now it's time to attach the little nest to our wreath form. I'm doing it at an angle so it is upright enough to be able to keep the bird in there, but I'm going to need to boost it up a little bit here on the bottom, so I decided to put a little bit of extra Spanish moss underneath of that to have a little bit of a base. Then we can add our adorable little eyelash yarn bluebird from the Dollar Tree. I think it turned out so cute. I hot glue him in its nest so he stays put. And then I also want a little bit more moss on this side to balance it out. So I take a little bit of the reindeer moss and I'm going to glue it underneath of the bird's nest and over on the side. And I want it to look balanced, so I'm going to do it on the other side of the birdhouse too, but not too much. I do want to leave a lot of burlap exposed on this because I think it's really pretty. And let me show you how this spring wreath turned out. I absolutely love it. The colors work perfectly. I love that it's a nice large size wreath. And my favorite thing has probably got to be that little DIY bird there. Don't be afraid to DIY something like that for yourself from scratch. It's actually really fun. What do you guys think about our little spring bird wreath DIY? Hey guys, if you're enjoying today's video, be sure to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to my page, and I would really appreciate it if you would hype today's video. For this spring DIY, I'm going to use this sign that I actually got on clearance at Target Dollar Spot. But you know what? It's the same exact size as the ones from the Dollar Tree. I just liked the lighter wood frame on this one, so I'm going to use this one instead because I've used all of those from my stash from the Dollar Tree, but they do have those in the Dollar Tree frame as well. I'm just going to start here. I tried to remove the tag from the back, and I'm going to change out where the hanger is because I'm going to make this a horizontal sign. What I want to do is do a little wall garden. I wanted this to be a hanging piece. So as you can see, the sign is 12 inches. So I'm just going to find the center so I can center this. And I find the trick of these little Dollar Tree hangers that are not sawtooth is to kind of hot glue them in place first. That way it doesn't move around when you're trying to put those little tiny screws back in there. And it just makes it a lot easier. And you don't have to, use another hanger. For the fence on this one, I'm going to use 2 of these little Dollar Tree pallet boards. And for the garden gate, I found this sign from the Dollar Tree that I think is so pretty. It says, "Welcome to our garden." It's white, it's distressed, it's got flowers all over. And I thought it was the perfect shape for a garden gate. So I'm just going to remove the hanger. It was like a little hanging tag. And I'm going to use that as the gate. And then these pieces can be the fence on each side. And I want it to be like a 3D piece where it sticks out. So it's okay that the frame is a little bit smaller than what I have planned. I'm just going to use some painter's tape to kind of try to protect my frame here. What I'm going to do is paint a very abstract sky on here. So I thought like the top half could be the sky, the bottom half could be the grassy garden filled with flowers. And so I really only have to paint half of it blue. I'm just going to go ahead and drag that down. I do want pretty good coverage. I found that sometimes these paintbrushes can lose more bristles than they have in them, it seems. So I was trying to make sure I didn't get any bristles stuck on there. But this is how that part looked. The painter's tape did a pretty good job, except it kind of prevented me from getting all the way in the corners here. So I'm just going to kind of fill those in. I do want it to be a sunny day, but I want a little bit of a look of clouds in there. So I'll show you how I end up doing it. First, I kind of just sponge on a little bit more blue, and then I use one of those stencil daubers from the Dollar Tree, and I go on with some white acrylic paint to make some puffy little clouds here in the sky. I didn't want it to look too cartoonish though, so I tried to blend mine in with some of the blue that I used originally to make some little fluffy clouds there in the sky, but I don't want it to be too white. I just want it to be more subtle. So I kind of go back between the two colors. When that dried, I found that you couldn't really see the clouds much at all. So I'm going to go in here for a second coat of white, this time maybe not distressing as much of it as away, but I do want to blend it too. So just using that original blue color that I used and the makeup sponge and just blending it until I'm happy with it. Again, I want it to be very abstract. For the fence, I'm going to make this fence white because the gate is white, so I thought that would make sense for a little welcome to our garden sign. And so I'm just going to paint these white. I want them almost to look like a whitewash because that's kind of the vibe that that sign is giving. So I'm just going to do a thin coat of white acrylic all over these. And I'll also come in and distress these a little bit because as you can see, that welcome to our garden sign is slightly distressed as well. I just want a good coat of white all over these. I don't really have to worry about the back on these. You're not going to be able to see them, but I do try to do any of the edges of the palette board that you might be able to see. I paint that white as well. A very light distress. I like to come in from the ends like that. Gives it a great distressing, but also all over just slightly. And then I go back with a baby wipe to wipe off the excess. And it just kind of gave it a little bit of an aged look, which goes with that original sign a little bit. Now, to kind of tie it in together, I'm going to slightly distress this one as well. It's almost distressed more with a gray, but I thought if I added a little bit of distressing with some Antique Wax by Waverly, it would make it blend in and match a little bit better. So there it is, our little welcome to our garden fence. And now we can work on this a little bit. I still wasn't happy with those clouds, so I went over with a little bit more of that original blue, sponged that on until I just got a little less prevalent cloud. I want it to be very subtle back there. And then I'm going to have to figure out a way to attach this all together. I thought I was going to need some pieces to bump out some of the pieces. I want the gate to be level with the fence. So I'm going to try some of these little mini Jenga blocks from the Dollar Tree. And I found if you put them on their side like that, it was the perfect depth. So I'm going to attach 2 up here for the top of the garden gate. And I'm also going to do 2 here at the bottom because it needs to stick out enough where it is flat level with the fence, just like that. The fence has that little thing on the bottom, the brace and the frame. So it needs to stick out a little bit too. And so I'm going to use one of the Jenga blocks, but this time laying flat. And that gave it the right little support there, and I can just connect that part to the sign. So I'm going to do the same thing here in reverse on the other side with one more of the Jenga blocks. Now that I have those attached, I can go ahead and add my grassy scene. I'm going to use Dollar Tree's reindeer moss for the grass in our garden. Since you will be able to see through the fence a little bit, I wanted it to have like a green grassy look. So I'm just going to cover this little quarter and this little quarter over here with some reindeer moss. So half of it sky, half of it moss. And we'll also add flowers. I want flowers just coming out of the fence, flowers above the fence, so it really looks like you're entering a garden. And that little bit of a detail of just adding that moss back there, I think really helps. For the flowers, I want to use some smaller ones. These are the Tweedia. I found that, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. That's how it's spelled. But they have many different colors and styles on these. So I thought I would do some pink ones. We have some little lavender flowers. These are also the Tweedia, and see how they're like 2 different colors together, like purple and yellow. And I want it to be kind of random what flowers are where. And so I thought I would add a few more colors in here so I don't repeat. So that is the white Tweedia, and just kind of whatever I could find. I like the idea of them sticking out like that on top of the fence, so you're seeing the garden actually overtaking the fence. I think that's really pretty for spring. And a little hot glue there together with the moss is going to hold these in place. And since this is a standing sign, I do want to make sure everything is going to stay when I hang this on the wall. So just making sure everything is going to work like this. I think that's enough flowers for now. I'm going to go ahead and attach the little garden gate, our little welcome to our garden sign. And you have to make sure that your moss is not in the way for your Jenga block there, but I just put hot glue on the frame and on the Jenga block. So it will glue it to both of those items and line it up with the bottom of the sign we use for the garden gate. Now, if you can't find this sign for the middle for the garden gate, you could always just make a garden gate out of another one of these little pallet boards really easily, or just have the fence go straight across. Now, I thought it'd be fun to have some of the individual flowers like kind of coming through the fence like that too. I'm also going to add a little bit of this lavender. This is not the lavender from Dollar Tree. This is the lavender from Walmart, but it's pretty close to the lavender from Dollar Tree. I'm going to stick a few of those behind the gate, and then just using hot glue, some of these flowers that I had extra, I can just kind of have those coming through. I just put dots of hot glue on the stems of everything and kind of put it through the fence like it's kind of overgrowing the fence. And maybe a purple flower here, maybe a pink one right over here. So colorful and fun for spring. I really love how this turned out and the little like 3D nature of it. I think it's so pretty. You could actually stand this up if you wanted to make a base for it, or I think it looks really fun hanging on the wall. Doesn't that look so bright and festive for spring? I really love how this turned out. I love the idea of decorating with like a spring fence and a little garden gate, and this sign worked really well for this. I've also used the new arched flower sign for a gate. I'm going to use one of the Dollar Tree wood frames and one of their burlap canvases. I love these burlap canvases. I've been having trouble finding them lately at my Dollar Trees. Have you guys been finding them in your stores? They're so much better than the regular canvases. I want them to have them all the time. But I guess you could always recreate yours with a canvas and some burlap if you can find some burlap from the Dollar Tree. And I just want the wood frame. The wood frame is the strongest frame from the Dollar Tree that I work with. So it works great when you're adding a canvas to it because the corners are not going to gap like the plastic ones did. I just removed the glass, all of the staples, added a little hot glue on the inside of the frame here, and just laid my burlap canvas right inside. I'm going to leave the back open like that. I can always use that canvas to do the hanging part without having a hanger on there. I want to create some burlap flowers on here using my own DIY burlap flowers and also some of the Dollar Tree ones. For the vase, I found these great little soap bags from the Dollar Tree. These were the bathroom section, and I really bought them for the netted one on the left there because I think that's going to make a perfect fishing net for coastal crafting. But I thought this back soap holder would make a perfect little vase for my burlap flowers. So I just tied that there at the top. I guess you're supposed to put like a bar of soap in there. And I'm going to attach it here to my burlap canvas. I love the contrast of the ivory and the burlap together. I think it looks really cute and very kind of rustic spring with the burlap flower idea. I just attached it, leaving the bag open, but gluing the back of the bag to the burlap canvas like that. Trying to go around the edges too so it doesn't gap out too much. And then I am going to use a little polyfill just to give it a little bit more volume. And you can kind of see through the holes a little bit there too. So I think that's going to work well to just stuff it slightly. For the flowers, I'm going to DIY some, and I wanted to start simple. I've never made burlap flowers before. I know there's a million different patterns, but we're going to start easy because it's the first time I made burlap flowers. So I designed just this printable flower, and I will include a link to this if you want to recreate these same burlap flowers. And I just printed that out on regular paper. For the burlap, I'm going to use the burlap bags from the Dollar Tree. These are usually in my crafter square at my store, but they are great burlap for crafting because they're coated with plastic on the back. They're a faux burlap. They don't fray. Perfect for something like this. So I just used my little flower stencil and a Sharpie, sketched that out on the plastic backing of my burlap bag. Probably have to change the color. I was trying not to do anything too noticeable, but I really couldn't see that mint green. So I'm going to do it with like a brown Sharpie. And I think I'm going to DIY about 5 of them. I'm going to combine them with the burlap flowers from the Dollar Tree, which come in so many different shapes and sizes. They're usually burlap or ivory. And so the ones I'm going to DIY here, I'm going to paint the burlap. So there'll be some fun spring colors. I sketched out 5 on the back here, and this stuff cuts so easily, as you can see, and look, no fraying at all. I also thought the plastic would be easier to melt a little bit if I wanted them to warp a little bit, give me a little bit of texture since I'm not doing any of the fancy burlap flower designs. I did look to see how you make burlap flowers, and I was a little overwhelmed with how many different ways there are to make them. And I really don't like sewing, so I was trying not to do a sewing version. So we're just going to keep it really easy with a 5-leaf flower. And again, I will include the printable if you want to use that as a template as well. I just cut them all down. I thought that I could paint them like 2 different colors. And since we're doing a lot of pink and purple today, I'm going to kind of stick with those colors. I'm using a sponge stencil dauber from the Dollar Tree. I use these things all the time. They're my favorite paintbrushes from the Dollar Tree nowadays. And I am going to go over 3 of them in pink and 2 of them in that like soft purple color. And I want to make sure that the sponge works great because I don't want to get too much paint in there to block the burlap look. I still want you to be able to tell that they are made out of burlap. And 1 coat, I think, is all I need on that. Covered the burlap brown very well. And I just gave them a quick dry. And I did notice they did want to warp a little bit with heat, which is good. They do flatten out a little bit more than I would like, though. But for the center, I'm going to use twine. And I just did a circle of hot glue in the center of my flower. And I tried both ways, working from the outside in and the inside out with the center of my flowers. I think I liked working that way. Outside in seemed to work a little bit better to create the center of our flower. It's a fun rustic touch. Other ideas is you could use buttons if you like that look for the center of your flower, or like the little wood slices from the Dollar Tree that are circular. I think those would be cute as well. Or you could even take a button and cover it with burlap. It kind of looks like that's what they've done with the Dollar Tree flowers that I'm going to be using on this project as well. But I'm going to do that with all 5 of my flowers, just creating little twine centers. Very easy and so much fun. So I'm going to combine 5 of my own DIY burlap flowers with a couple of the Dollar Tree ones as well. And I do want them to have stems. I thought the wire jute from the Dollar Tree would be perfect for the stems. The only thing is, I hate cutting this stuff, but I found that if you add a little masking tape and use some wire cutters, you're much more likely to get a good cut without the twine coming off of the wire. That's kind of my pet peeve with this stuff. And I went ahead and cut 5 of these. Kind of forgot that I was doing more flowers, but I'm going to have to add a couple more to these in a minute when I add a few more flowers. I just removed the tape and then hot glued those onto the back of my flowers here. And as you can see, the more that I've added like heat to those flowers, they have curled up a little bit, but I noticed that when I would do that, they would curl up and then they would kind of flatten back out. Right now, I think I've melted the plastic a little bit because they do have a little bit of a curl, which I like because I think that adds more fun to the flower to make them warp a little bit like that. And we can start adding our little flowers into our little vase that is made out of a soap bag. You never know where you're going to find crafting supplies from the Dollar Tree, that's for sure. So I add my pink and purple flowers kind of in a random pattern like that. I want this project to be really fun and really like 3D vibe. And I think it turned out really cute so far. I went ahead and added a little bit more of the polyfill to fill out my bag. And then I glued it shut. And then I was like, oh yeah, I was going to add Dollar Tree flowers to this as well. I don't know what I was thinking, but I wish I hadn't done that. But I filled it out right there with it. And again, hitting those flowers with a little bit more heat to try to make them curl a little bit was my strategy. I don't want them to curl too much, just a little bit. And then add my flowers. These are the flowers that I was talking about from the Dollar Tree. I have like 6 or 7 different kinds of these. I think that the ivory ones are going to look better because they're going to match like the bag that we used. So I'm going to add a couple of those and it'll add a little variety with like a different kind of flower. So I think 2 of those. So I do have to make 2 more of the flower stems here with the wired jute and then try my best to add these to the vase because I already sealed it up. I don't know what I was thinking. They also have the burlap leaves from the Dollar Tree sometimes as well, and I do have some of those. So I thought I would add a few of those to my flowers as well, just to brighten it up. But I don't think I have a lot of room for the leaves. That's something you could DIY really easily, though. It's just a simple leaf shape, especially if you were using like the faux burlap like we used for the flowers. I love that combination. These are the ones I'm going to use, the small ivory ones. Aren't these so cute? And again, I got all of those at the Crafter Square at the Dollar Tree. It looks like the flower ones were almost more of a fall theme, but I think they go well with these spring flowers. And then I am just going to add 1 to the left one to this one, and maybe 1 over here on the right, just kind of balance things out. I want it to be overflowing with flowers, kind of going over the sides of my burlap. But so many fun textures with this soap bag, the burlaps, the burlap behind it. I think it's so fun. And then I'm going to tie it all off with some twine. I just fed some twine around the rope bag and tied it here at the top. I'm just going to knot it to cinch it and then use that excess twine just to tie a simple little sweet bow that can hang down from the front. Such a sweet, whimsical spring DIY. I really love it. It really screams spring, especially with like the bright pink and purple flowers added to it. But I love the idea of little burlap flowers on a burlap canvas. And the wood frame is just very neutral and blends in well with this project. Isn't that so cute? I love how this turned out. Now, my little DIY burlap flowers, they have a lot fancier ones that I can try, but this was really fun to learn how to do it. I hadn't ever made any of those from scratch. I've always used the ones from the Dollar Tree, which I was able to get a lot of those on clearance for 25 cents. So I definitely have plenty of those in stock now, but I thought it was really fun to kind of DIY my own.
For the next one, I wanted to do a spring candle. So I picked up one of these little candle holders from the Dollar Tree and a little candle stick. And I thought we could put this all together for a really beautiful spring candle. I want to, again, use the lamb's ear, but I kind of want to do like a lamb's ear garland that wraps around the candle. I thought that would look really pretty for spring. And I love the little pink candlestick, so that goes with our soft pink color. And then I just got an ivory like pillar candle at Dollar Tree. Now I'm cutting all the leaves in individual pieces. I was trying to do small ones, maybe a larger one here and there, whatever will work. But since I'm going to be making my own garland, I don't want it to have much of a stem. I just kind of want it to cascade like around, like if I actually had a small lamb's ear garland. So I just went and trimmed the stems off all of them. I thought that would make more sense. And I'm actually just going to use some twine from the Dollar Tree to build our little DIY vine. Now I just take some hot glue right here on the back of my lamb's ear and glue that on like that. And then I can just kind of alternate which way the leaves go. So I kind of flipped it upside down so I can glue the twine on. And I'm not really measuring. I'm just kind of estimating about where I would want, how full I want my garland to be. And I'm just going to make my own little DIY lamb's ear garland. I thought that would be easier and maybe help it like all stay attached to it as well. And as you can see, I'm kind of alternating sizes, doing like 2 small, 1 large until I go through those. And then I'm going to kind of see if that is enough to kind of go all the way through. I didn't think it was, so I'm going to add just maybe a couple more here of the smaller leaves. And I was doing the smaller ones at the top. So let's see if that's enough to go all the way around. Looks pretty good. Maybe one more here would be perfect. And then I just cut off the twine and we have our little lamb's ear garland. I'm not really going to do anything to the pink candlestick or anything like that, but I do want to decorate this little candle holder. So I'm actually hot gluing the leaves themselves to the glass. I thought that would be easier than trying to glue the twine to it, but the twine I think is going to help everything stay together as well. But I thought it would be a little bit more secure if I hot glue this to the outside. And I want to be able to burn this candle, so I don't really want anything that's going to interfere with that or get in the way. I just kind of want all of this to be on the outside. And I thought it would look really pretty when I light the candle up, being able to see like the leaves wrapped around it. On that soft pink candlestick, and I love how this turned out. It was pretty easy to do. Now, some of my larger leaves were a little too big, so I'm just going to kind of trim those down. I didn't want this one to be like, longer than the candle holder itself. And I also didn't want anything to catch on fire. I had one kind of going up here a little bit too high. So I just trimmed that down to size, kind of made it more a medium size. Pretty easy to get that shape. And then just making sure all of my leaves are attached really well and I've cleaned up any of my strings of hot glue. I'm not going to glue this to it. It fits on there perfectly. That way I'll be able to reuse the candlestick later. And then we can just add our little pillar candle. It fits in there perfectly. It's just a vanilla scent from Dollar Tree. And this is how it turned out, our little spring candle holder.
It's really kind of simple with just the leaves on there. No flowers on this one, but I like the simplicity of it. And DIYing my own little vine garland around there was really fun to do. This is what it looks like, not lit up. Still super cute. I love the Dollar Tree candle holders. They're always so fun. And I love it when they're the right color. And this is what it looks like lit up. Really pretty and fun for spring.
I'm going to make a little flower box for spring. So I'm going to use one of these welcome signs from the Dollar Tree.
some craft wood, also from the Dollar Tree, and some of these great new long signs they have at the Dollar Tree. I thought I bet two were the same. They're a little bit different colors, if you notice that. I don't know if it's just if they're different colors or, sometimes just different finishes look a little bit different. Not sure, but we're going to make it work. And they have these like in black and brown and this light wood. Super cute. And I thought they'd be the perfect size for a flower box. So just removing the hanger off of both of those signs with the staples and the stickers on the back. And then I thought we could use some of this craft wood for the sides of our little flower box. So I got two pieces of those. That craft wood at the Dollar Tree, you'll notice that one side is nice and smooth and really you can paint it, stain it, whatever. The other side is all kind of furry, so you have a good side and a bad side. So I start planning how I'm going to lay that out. That's when I noticed they were a little bit different colors, but one's going to be on the front, one's going to be on the back. I don't think you're going to be able to tell they're different. But I kind of like that natural wood feel. We left the porch swing natural wood. So, I think I'm going to leave this natural wood, the sides and all. But when I put the sides on, I decided that my flower box was going to be too big for the amount of flowers that I had to craft with. So I decided to just try to maybe cut one of those in half and make a skinnier box. So we're only going to use one piece of the square craft wood. So just finding the center of that, I'm going to just run that over to my saw. I've had some of you guys ask what kind of saw I use. I actually went to, I think it was Home Depot, and bought a Ryobi miter saw, and I love it. It's one that you like pull down to cut, and then you can slide it forward if you're going to cut something larger. I use it all of the time because I hate sawing stuff. Now I'm just going to attach that with hot glue. As you can see, we got them cut in half. Just trying to keep that square like a 90-degree angle. And I'm going to do that with the other half on the other side. And I kind of like this size better because it's going to be more versatile. I can kind of fit it in more areas. But if you wanted to do the full size box, you definitely could. Now we're just going to attach the front here of our box with hot glue on both of those sides. And I don't really have anything planned to use for the bottom, but we're going to need to put something in the bottom to kind of keep the flowers in there. We're going to have floral foam and flowers. It's not going to be very heavy, but we just kind of needed something down there. So I decided actually to use one of these like flexible cutting mats from the Dollar Tree. I thought that would be easy to cut and lightweight, but it's going to kind of serve the purpose. Not quite long enough, so I'm going to cut like a strip, and then we'll have to cut another piece to fill it in all the way. I'm trying to cut it wide enough, but not too wide because I don't want it like sticking out at all from the sides. And then we can just attach that to the bottom. I love working with this stuff. They make it those mats and colors as well. I use these all the time for different things. So just doing a bead of hot glue around the three sides that this one's going to touch. And just simply gluing that on the bottom. A very easy bottom, and it's functional. It worked. A lot easier than cutting wood down and getting everything to the right size. And so the smaller piece, we just use there on the side, just overlapping a little bit. And you'll never be able to see that from the front because it's nice and skinny and flat down there. Now for the front of our little flower box. I thought this would be perfect. It's just the right size. Fits on that front sign perfectly. I don't need the hanger though, so I'm just going to go ahead and remove that. It's stapled onto the back. And they have the cutest like raw wood garden spring things at the Dollar Tree. I just love it. I think they have a lot of new items this year with spring. So I want that same like turquoise color that we've been using. So I mixed turquoise and white together. And we're going to paint the welcome sign that turquoise color. I think it's so cute that the L is like little garden boots. Isn't that adorable? I'm going to go ahead and paint it all. The little plant right there and the little rake are both like raised pieces that are on top. But I'm just going to go ahead and paint them all because it's kind of inevitable at that point. But then I can go back and paint those a different color. So I do use a smaller brush to get in all like the nooks and crannies that were around there to keep the paint from pooling anywhere. And then I don't want this to be super colorful. I didn't want to add pink or anything like that. So I'm just going to use ivory and a small brush and just carefully paint our little flower pot and our little rake there to the side, just to kind of give a contrast against that. And then I want to use, like, for the box, I'm going to bring in like that salmon pink color with my flowers. I'm going to do like a salmon pink color and like white flowers. So it's going to go with my color scheme that we've been using this year with all of these spring DIYs. And if you haven't seen them, I do have 2 previous spring DIY videos this year. I like the way that's looking, and I kind of distressed it a little bit on the letters as well because I like that look. And then I'm just using hot glue, kind of spacing it out a little bit to secure this sign to the front of the flower box. See how perfectly that fits on that sign? If you wanted just to make a sign with that, this would work perfect as well. But sometimes I like my signs to be functional like this, so it's a full-on flower box. So that's what it looks like at that point. And now we can just fill this in with flowers for spring. The box is almost exact same width as the floral foam that you get at the Dollar Tree. I like getting the long pieces, and you can kind of cut them down to size. So that one fits in there perfectly, as you can see on its side. This one I did need to cut down a little bit. And it's super easy to cut. Now, the only thing I was thinking is that, it's pretty, deep. And so I don't want my foam to be way down there because I'll have to use tons of filler to fill it up. So I'm just going to toss a couple wood blocks from the Dollar Tree down below. You can use anything you've got. I just kind of needed a spacer there so I don't have to use so much filler. And I'm just going to kind of sit that in there. And I can always take those out later and reuse them for something else. Now, again, we're going to use the reindeer moss from the Dollar Tree. I really love this for spring. I think it looks so springy and mossy. And we're just going to cover all of the floral foam. If you're going to do this like for something outside, you might want to glue that down. But I'm kind of doing an indoor decoration, so I think it's going to sit in there nicely. And it made it look really full. Now, these are the flowers that I picked out from the Dollar Tree to decorate it with. The white ones are the lilacs, and they're so pretty. I chose 2 different kinds of flowers. So, they'll kind of coordinate together. And then it's a little bit too tall since I put like that spacer underneath there. So I am just going to bend it and put one in the side, one in the middle, and one on the end. I always like to work with odd numbers. I think it looks better when you're doing any kind of arrangement like this. And then the 2 spots in between will fill in with these beautiful, like, salmon color flowers. They're so pretty. And kind of get them all about the same height. Now, I was missing one flower from one, so I decided to remove one flower from the second one just to make sure they're even. And bending that and pushing that into the floral foam. And I think this turned out really pretty. I love like the salmon colors mixed together with the blues. Now, if you can't find a spring sign at Dollar Tree, it would be really cute too if you like had a cricket and you wanted to do some cricket vinyl on there. You could do something really similar to this because I've been having a terrible time finding spring wood signs at Dollar Tree this year.
I'm actually using one of these signs I got on clearance at Target Dollar Spot, but Dollar Tree has the same exact sign, same size and everything. And what I want to do is do like a little Sola wood rose ombre like wall hanging. So I'm going to cut down a piece of cardstock. This is just the regular sheet of the paper, and that sign and the Dollar Tree sign are just a little bit smaller. And what I want to do is take these little wood curl roses from the Dollar Tree. You get 4 in a package. And I want to do like a whole wall of them on that sign. But I also want to spray paint them ombre. And so I don't want the overspray to go on the sign. So I'm going to do it on cardstock first. That way the overspray will just go on the cardstock instead. So I had to kind of see how many was going to fit on here. I did 5 across. And then I thought I could do a 7 down. I ended up only being able to do a 6 down. So I only used a total of 8 packages. I had 10 just in case because I wasn't sure how many I was going to need. And I'm just kind of laying them out, get them ready. And then what I'm going to do is attach these to the cardstock and paint them on that with like the ombre effect. I've never painted these before, but they turned out really cool, so I'll probably do that again. I love these little wood flowers from Dollar Tree. They're so pretty. And the great thing about a lot of these DIYs today is since I'm doing pinks, you could do it for Valentine's Day, but all of them are spring DIYs, so you can leave them up all spring. So that works great. Now, the most challenging part, as you can see, is getting the hot glue to dry to make sure these little flowers are standing straight up and not tipping over. I was trying to do like maybe a couple at a time to make it go a little bit faster. But I just keep gluing down. And, you can like put things next to them to kind of hold it up, but I was just trying to hold it. I don't want like a permanent bond. I just wanted enough of a bond to make these little guys stand up so that I could paint them first. And I'm glad that I did like this cardstock or paper method because it did get lots of overspray on the back, and that would have just not looked as good on the final product. So a little bit of prep, getting you ready for this one for sure. So I'm already on row 5. As you can see, there's no way I'm going to be able to fit 2 more rows in there. So a total of 8 packages is plenty for that size sign. And that sign from the Dollar Tree, they have a couple different finishes of wood of that one, but I actually had the one from the dollar spot, so I'm going to use that one today. So we have them all. They're all standing up, except for this one. Trying to get the glue to dry just enough. I don't want like a permanent bond or anything like that. I just want to be able to paint them. So I'm going to go ahead now that I've got them all attached to cardstock and kind of put them in a box so that we can start spray painting them. I picked up a couple colors of pink spray paint at Lowe's yesterday because I wanted to do like a pink ombre. So what I'm going to do is start with this gloss mambo pink, I guess it's called, then candy pink, and then more of a white. This is like called sand dollar. I didn't really want that bright of a pink, but finding different shades of pink is a little bit challenging, I was noticing, so we're going to make it work. So I'm going to start with like the most bold color, the Mambo pink here at the very top, and I'm just going to simply spray paint the first couple of rows with a little overspray on the 3rd row there. And then I'm going to switch to the candy pink, which is way lighter. And the great thing about using spray paint to ombre is that you naturally get that fade between one to the other from the little bit of overspray. And I kind of did like, 2.5 of the soft pink too. And then we're going to finish it up with like the shade of white. This isn't exactly white, but it's pretty close. Kind of a soft white. And I sprayed the bottom 2 rows with the white. Now I do want that ombre effect, a little bit more pink than white. So I did spray again a couple times like the pink there to make sure everything kind of looks good. That slow, gentle transition in color. And then I just speeded up the drying process with my heat gun. It actually went pretty fast. Now we can attach these to the sign. I love this idea. You could do this, on a smaller scale or a larger scale. Just so pretty. And you could do it with, artificial flowers as well. But I really like the look of the little Sola roses. I think they're super sweet. So let's go ahead and start attaching these. I'm going to be doing the same thing as I did on the cardstock, hot gluing them one at a time. And you do have to be kind of careful pulling them off. You don't want to break the flowers. And so I'm going to actually start in the middle. It doesn't really matter as long as I'm using like the right row of color. That way I can get my center row centered properly. So I just sit that, and again, as you can see, it does take a while for the hot glue to set up. So it's almost better to kind of put some things, and I'll show you what I ended up using to kind of, stand the flowers up while the hot glue is drying. And then I'm going to start here on the bottom with one of the white roses. And I wanted to kind of do the first middle row first, so I would kind of know my spacing. And as you can see, what I'm using to stand them up are just the little pink finger protectors from Dollar Tree. That worked perfect. They were just the right size and small enough that you can kind of put them wherever needed. So as you can see, I'm going from top, and then I'm also working up from the bottom. And then I have two more. I want them to be kind of spaced evenly without like a huge gap, and I think that's going to work fine. And so I just glue those in place as well. Trying to make sure that I have the ombre effect. And then I'm just going to finish it off by gluing all the rest of them. I'm kind of working from the center out. I'm going to go ahead and do all of the hot pink up here. Now, I didn't really want to do that bold of a pink, but really I only had one row here that was that bold because I had a lot more of, the mixture between the colors. Like this is kind of turned out like a medium pink, which is great. And those little finger protectors worked perfect for this because I could hot glue them, stand them up with that while that glued, and it actually turned out really sturdy in the end. So I'm going to continue my way down, doing all the colors in the ombre, and I'm just going to leave like that frame, that color. And as you can see, that wood background looks great back there. And if you can see like the back of my paper, how much overspray there was just by a couple passes with that, definitely was the right way to do it. Now, I found the best way to pull these off the cardstock was actually just to rip the paper just a little bit, and then you could just cut it off, and it almost gave you more of a flat bottom for these that you could glue down to the sign, and it made them actually a little bit easier to attach. So we're just going to finish up the final few rows here. And you can see that gentle ombre effect with the pink. I love that. I think that's so fun. And I think this is going to be a great little wall hanging for spring. Since it's kind of a firm sign, you could also kind of lean this against something, make it more of a shelf sitter. Haven't decided which way I'm going to use it. I kind of like it like leaning up against something. I think it looks really pretty for spring. And that's all there is to it. So we have the little wood Sola. I'm going to go ahead and get all of any of the glue strings. It's really easy just to melt those off with your heat gun. Clean it up and make sure it looks its best. And I love how this turned out. There was definitely a little bit of prep by having to glue it twice, but I'm so glad I did because in the end I got this beautiful wood flower wall hanging.
And this is a really great transitional piece because you can use this for like Valentine's Day, but then it like transitions beautifully into spring. And it's a fun way to use those little wood Sola flowers from the Dollar Tree.
Now, this is a find that I actually found from the Target dollar spot for $3, one of their metal watering can. I kind of preferred this one over the plastic ones from the Dollar Tree. It does have a little snail embossed on it, but I think that's kind of cute. I'm going to fill mine up with some spring florals from Dollar Tree. I just add a wood block. I add a little bit of foam and some reindeer moss so we can make this into a little planter. I already love the blue-green color of it. I'm going to add pastel flowers, little peonies. I thought we could do some pink flowers, maybe a little of these because these are like pretty much the same color as the little flower pot. And just kind of mix these around there, adding these to the foam. I wanted pinks and greens and blues, I think, to finish this off. The larkspur are a little bit taller, the blue ones, which makes it a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to add those as well, scattering those around. And I like the different kinds of flowers all mixed together. It looks so pretty for spring. Now, I don't want to really display the snail that was on there. It was more for a child. So I'm going to decorate the other side of the watering can with just a Dollar Tree sticker, one of these pretty pink flowers. I love these stickers. They're so pretty. I just did a pink flower right there on front. And I have a fun floral display for spring, and I love the fact that it's displayed in a metal watering can. I think that is so cute.
You could possibly even thrift one. I know that with Dollar Tree, I could only find the plastic watering cans, but I have DIY'd them, something similar. But I think the metal little one is so charming and it looks really fun, filled with florals for spring.
We're going to use all of these materials to make a spring sign. So the first thing we're going to start with is one of these wood rounds from the Dollar Tree. I love these things. I have trouble finding them sometimes, so I just bought a whole case of them off the website and picked it up at the store. Easy peasy, and they're so versatile. So first we're just going to take the hanger off, and then I found this beautiful fabric at Dollar Tree. It's like a light aqua color with these like salmon colored flowers all over, and this is exactly the kind of color scheme I want to go with today for these spring DIYs. So I just want to cover the wood round with this beautiful fabric. So to do that, I am just going to lay this down on the back of the fabric. I'm not going to iron it or anything like that. I think it'll be okay. And I'm just going to go around. I'm just going to use a yellow Sharpie just to kind of give me an outline of where to cut that out. Just holding that still. And I thought we could just Mod Podge the fabric onto it. It's going to give us a beautiful floral background. And then I want to use one of those little wood watering can signs from the Dollar Tree to make something really cute for spring. And you know, here in Florida, it's kind of hard to know the seasons, but I am still ready for spring. Summer is my favorite, I think. Even though winter is nice because no bugs, right? So I cut that out and just laying that on top. Might be a little big just because I didn't iron it, but we can always trim it up later. But it looks good. It looks like it's going to cover like the entire wood round. So I'm just going to take some Mod Podge from the Dollar Tree and we are just going to attach it. Now, when I do fabric, I probably do like a thicker layer of Mod Podge than when I'm doing like paper or something like that. I really want it to attach to the fabric. I don't want this going anywhere. And I'm going to be building on the sign, so I do 2 pretty good coats of Mod Podge and then just lay that on there, just flattening it out. I'm not going to Mod Podge or anything on top. I like that fabric texture, but I'm just going to use a paper towel to like smooth that out, kind of soaking that into the material. And then I do have a little excess fabric here around the edges, and I'm just going to trim that off just as close to the edges as I can get with my fabric scissors. And we have a really pretty background going on this sign. Now, I didn't want to leave like the rough like fabric edges around there. I wanted to frame that out in some way. So I thought, you know, I could probably do like a rope frame because the rope would kind of go with the like spring garden look that we're going with today. So I'm going to use like this thinner, like the brown rope. And we're just going to make just a super easy brown rope frame around the edges of this. I kind of like the fact that it makes the sign look a little bit thicker too. I'm not a big fan of the thin signs. So I'm just going to start like probably in the center of the bottom. I kind of know where the hanger is on that, so I know what's top. And I'm just going to do a thin bead of hot glue and just attach that to the sign. I'm working on a silicone mat, so I don't have to worry about the hot glue sticking to that. If you're not, you're probably going to want to pick it up and kind of like sit it on the side, but this is going to give me a really nice clean edge here to my fabric. I love these signs. I do 2 of the watering can signs today, and I just love how they turned out. They were so much fun to put together. So working all the way around to the bottom and gluing that off. It looks pretty good. I like to kind of seal my 2 ends together, kind of make it less of a seam there if you can. And then I always like to burn the fuzzies off my rope just to clean it up a little bit. And I just do that with a lighter, just burning all the fuzzies off. Now, the last thing I need to do to prepare this is to poke holes through the fabric. So just using one of those little Cricut weeders from the Dollar Tree, I'm just going to go in from the back and just poke holes in here, and we can make a new hanger. I thought we could incorporate some of these cute white wood beads from the Dollar Tree. I love that they're carrying those now. And then just some of the Dollar Tree thin twine. I like to go in through the back and tie off in the front. I find that the Dollar Tree signs like hang flatter against my wall like that, so that's what we're gonna do here. I'm not gonna bead the entire thing. I just wanted a few beads, so I'm going to do like 2 white beads like on each side of the hanger, so a total of 4, just to give a little fun to the hanger. And I'm not a big fan of the hangers that they come with, because again, I don't think it hangs very flat with the little thing on it on the back. Okay, so this is the little watering can sign that I want to attach to that. It fits on there perfectly. It definitely fits inside like the rope border, and I love that background. Now, since I want to do like that turquoise color and salmon color, I am going to do the water can in the salmon color. This is just an acrylic paint that I had. I did find that this sign was a little difficult to paint because I had to use a brush to get down in between all of like the letters and the flowers. And you don't want to get too much paint because it like pools around the letters. I did have to go in with a smaller brush too to kind of get in between all those letters, but I finally got it painted. And then I want to kind of stain all of the raised wood on there. So I'm just doing that with some antique wax by Waverly and a little makeup sponge, and just dragging that over. If I get any on the watering can, that's fine, because I can just use that to distress it. I want the watering can to look old and used. I thought about staining the whole watering can in this color and kind of making it look like a rusty watering can, but I really wanted to use some fun springy colors today. That's why I went with the salmon color. So I'm just going over the flowers and the letters, trying to give that stained wood background. At first, I thought about like leaving it just like that, but then I thought it wasn't real, the details weren't really being brought out, and I thought it was a little hard to read. So I'm just distressing it with just a chunky brush from Dollar Tree and some ivory acrylic paint to try to bring out some details, kind of going over it with a baby wipe as well, and just distressing the watering can too. I love that distressed look. And this is what it looks like so far. So I'm going to go ahead and attach the watering can to our beautiful background there, just by using some hot glue on the back and laying that down. I found that it attached pretty well, even though you are doing it on a fabric surface. I got that fabric down pretty good. Now I want to cover that little hole there on the top, and so I'm just going to take some of that twine from the Dollar Tree and just do a very simple little bow. This is always my trick to cover those holes. I think it adds a cute little detail, and it's easier than trying to fill them with spackle and sand and all that kind of stuff. So just trying to get it sized appropriately. Just want a little tiny bow. And it's always better than leaving those holes unfilled. That drives me crazy. Now, I got to this point and I was pretty happy with it, but I thought that it was a little hard to read. So I started distressing it more with some ivory to try to brighten it up. And I do like that more. I guess you could paint all of it white and then distress it. I'm kind of going in the reverse direction by staining it and then making it white. But I did have to go over it a couple of times to brighten that up. I do like that wood stain coming through, but I just thought it was not very bright and that it was kind of hard to read with the wood. So it's going to be mostly ivory. So I'm just going to go over all of that, you know, letting some of that shine through for sure. And I think that really brightened it up, and I was much happier with it, with the bright white compared to just the brown wood.
And this is how it turned out. I really kind of like the shabby chic nature of this with the distressed paint. The fabric on the background is kind of loud and wild, but I love it. Just a fun DIY if you have any of these little watering can signs from the Dollar Tree, but also keep an eye out for that fabric because I think it's absolutely gorgeous.
This is one of my favorite spring tier trays that I've ever done. I think it turned out really cute. I hope you enjoy. This is the tier tray that I'm decorating today. It's my round woodwind. I'm going to use some of this wired garland from the Dollar Tree. I love it because it's got like little white buds and little green leaves. And this was so easy. I just wrapped it around, cut it down to size, and winded it upon each other. I didn't need to hot glue it or anything. And then check out these adorable little birds that I got at the Target dollar spot the other day. They're a little expensive for the size of them. They're $3 a piece, but look how beautiful they are. This one's like aqua, and this one's like a sky blue color. One's kind of standing up, one's kind of like leaning down. And normally I'd like them to be like $1.25, like at the Dollar Tree, but they were so cute that I decided to go ahead and go with them. I think they're going to be perfect for the tier tray. I'm going to use this one just as is, but the other one, I thought we could make a little DIY birdhouse using one of these cloches for the shape from the Dollar Tree, and then some of that wired jute also from the Dollar Tree. Now, this was a little experimental, but it worked. So what I'm going to do is use the cloche as, it's like the perfect shape for a little tiny birdhouse, right? Just as the shape to kind of make this work. You know, this has the wire in it, so it's going to keep shape. But I kind of need a starting point. And so what I do is just kind of wrap that around my cloche like that. I probably should have glued the ends because the ends of this always frays so badly, especially if you've been working with it a little bit. But I'm going to cut them all a little bit longer here and fold them inside. So I do have a little bit extra to work with if I need to. But I just went around the shape of the cloche with my first one. And then I'm going to start here on my second row, just doing a crisscross, like an X shape over my first wire jute. And you're going to want to use some like heavy duty scissors to cut that too. Then I'm going to kind of go in between these two, pull it down, crisscross over the top, cut it down to size, and secure it too. And then I'm going to do it one more time. And it's totally giving me that birdhouse vibe, but I need it to be open with like no plastic in there. So I thought I would take some of the thinner Dollar Tree brown rope to go around the bottom of the bird cage to make a ring. So I have something to attach all of the little wire jute to, and we'll have a little bit of a structure. Now, this step is a little tricky. What I want to do is make sure that the top stays in place. So I grabbed some burlap from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to cut down a little burlap circle, something that's going to match but kind of serve a purpose. And then I'm going to glue that on the very top of my bird cage to each one of those wire jutes to kind of keep it together just for the next step so it doesn't all fall apart. And I'm being careful not to glue it to the plastic cloche because I want to be able to pull that out after my next step of the bird cage. So that looks pretty good. And you can see the fraying that's going on the wire jute. I'm just going to go ahead and glue the rope just to the wire jute, trying to avoid gluing it onto the plastic again. And I'm just going along the base here so that I can cut off all of that extra wire jute that's frayed and that won't cause any problems. So just going all the way around, trying to keep the spacing fairly even as I go until I get to the end, cut it down and kind of glue it to itself there at the end. So we have the structure of the bird cage. Since I used the wire jute, I think it will keep its shape. So I just pull down all of the wires to unhook them from the cloche. And then I have to wiggle it kind of back and forth to get it out because, you know, there were a few areas probably where I glued the rope down that was a little bit glued to it. So just kind of disconnecting those. And then I can just wiggle the little plastic part out. But it did a great job of giving me that exact kind of shape and size that I wanted. So now that I have it all put together, I just have to go around and cut off my extra wire jute, all of the frayed mess there at the end, trying to get it as close to the rope as I can, just to kind of give me a clean edge. And I'm really glad I did this little bird DIY. I think it turned out so cute. I could kind of see it in my head, but I really didn't know if it would work. And I had an extra one of those bee cloches because I planned to make it into a beehive. And so there's our little bird cage. Isn't it cute? Now, the only thing I think it needs is a bird and a base. Now, for the base, I needed something that was about that size, and I kind of wanted something that was wood. And so I'm going to use one of those little wood slice coasters. They have these at the Dollar Tree now, but I actually got this one at Dollar General, I think, before they started carrying them at Dollar Tree. And they're just called coasters. You get like 2 in a package. And I thought like the wood bark would go great with the bird theme. And it's the perfect size. So I'm just going to sit my little target bird on there and put the little bird cage right on top. Kind of a miniature version of the little bird cage from the dollar spot at Target. And this is how it turned out. And it's just the perfect size for one of these little birds from Target.
And here it is, our little DIY bird cage. This was so easy to make and something that you would think that you would have to buy, but it was just really fun to DIY with some of that wired jute and perfect for the little birdie inside.
Okay, I found this at the Dollar Tree the other day. I thought it was very spring. It's just a bottle with flowers all over. I like it kind of as is. I thought about kind of putting something in it, but I kind of like the simplicity of just a glass bottle with flowers all over it. Doesn't necessarily have birds on it, but I think it's going to totally go with my like spring vibe on the bottom of my little bird tier tray. So basically, I just removed the tag and it is ready to go. I think the flowers on it are really lovely though. Aren't they pretty? And I am going to do some flowers on this tier tray as well since it is a spring theme. Now I want to make a little bird sign, and I got these at the spring section at Dollar Tree, these little chalkboard birds. And I'm going to use that other wood slice coaster from Dollar General. But look, see, these are the ones that I got at Dollar Tree the other day. Very similar, almost the same size, maybe a little bit smaller than the coaster ones from Dollar General. And I thought this would make a really cute background for a little bird sign using that little chalkboard bird. I bought those kind of for the structure of the bird ornament, not necessarily for the chalkboard. And so if you flip them over, they're wood on the other side, right? And they're just cute little birds that I thought would be really great size DIY for a tier tray. Kind of like that. And then we can just stand it up. Now, I want to leave like the wood coaster slice, wood. And so I thought I would just go in and paint this. And again, I'm testing out some of that Dollar Tree paint. This is like, can't remember the color. I think it was called tea something. Now I'm going to have to look it up and put it in the description. But it's a very soft blue. And I'm just kind of looking for, a very light, rough, stain on this, so it actually worked great. And you get a pretty large bottle of it for $1.25 at the Dollar Tree. Ready to attach my little bird to my little wood slice. And it does have that little hole in it because it was an ornament. So I'm going to use one of the little ornament hangers that came with it and just tie a very simple little finger bow just to cover that up.
just a decorative little tip to cover those annoying little holes without having to spackle it or anything like that. And I thought this was just a very simple, rustic little bird DIY that we can use on my tier tray for spring. Now I do want it to stand up, so I'm going to use a couple of those mini Jenga blocks from the Dollar Tree and just kind of glue a couple of them together and then to the back of the wood slice. And we have just a very simple little standing sign. It doesn't take much to stand that up. Super simple, but I think it turned out really cute. Here is our little bird sign. I think it turned out really sweet. You know, it was so easy with just using one of those little chalkboard signs. Not necessarily like a spring sign, but if you can find a bird like that for the bird themed tier tray, that would be great. Okay, our next DIY, I'm going to use one of these little wood birdhouses from the Dollar Tree. They have different ones. This one's got like the 2 holes, the 2 perches, doesn't matter. But these are the perfect size for a tier tray, especially for a bird theme. I'm going to go over the whole thing with some Antique Wax by Waverly, and then I'm going to wipe it off with a baby wipe because I kind of want that medium wood finish, not necessarily like a dark stain on that. And I'm going to do that all over. I just wanted a very rustic looking little birdhouse that's going to go well on this tier tray. So I'm going to go ahead and like do all 4 sides, also underneath the roof line, trying to cover up all of the raw wood, and then following that up with a baby wipe, kind of make it a little bit lighter. You guys know I love my Antique Wax by Waverly. It's just so much faster and easier than staining. And then I'm going to use the excess to kind of do the base as well, the top of the base. And then I'm going to put it up on something, so I thought I might as well try to stain the bottom as well, just so none of the exposed raw wood is visible. Now, I told you I wanted it to look rustic, right? So I'm also going to go over it and distress it with ivory all over to give me that like chippy wood, weathered, kind of like farmhouse vibe on this. Wiping the excess off with a baby wipe, blending it in, and it really made it look old and weathered, which was the look I was going for. Now, I think it looks pretty good like that. I did want to add a touch of color though, so I'm using like a mint green paint pen, and I'm just doing like the edges in that color just to bring in a little bit of blue. And I just outline a few things just to bring in a few pops of color, but mainly it's just going to be the stained wood. So I go around the base and the roof line with it. I'm also going to outline the little holes in the birdhouse just to provide a little color there. I already colored in like the tips of the little perches as well, just to make it more fun. Then we're going to make a base with those Dollar Tree Jenga blocks again. I kind of like these that have like the 2 different colors of the Jenga blocks. They're kind of cool. And I'm going to use like a combination of 6 of them to make kind of a big enough base to hold this up, but give it a little bit of height. I want to use this on the bottom of my tier tray, and I want it to be big enough. So I'm just going to make a base. I glue 3 together, and then 3 together, and then I'm going to glue those together side by side to make the perfect size little stand for our little birdhouse. And I'm going to go ahead and leave them that stain. I have a kind of a plan to disguise those, and I thought it would be cute if they look like they were covered in moss. So I'm just going to use some reindeer moss from the Dollar Tree and just kind of crazily glue that all over the 4 sides. That's going to be visible. It's going to kind of cover up the seams there and those little Jenga blocks. Just make it look a little bit more uniform, and I like the pop of color with the green moss coming in there. So just all 4 sides. And now we can attach that to our little birdhouse. Just a little hot glue on top and stick it on there. Super cute. Now you could kind of see inside the birdhouse a little bit there, where there's like raw wood inside. And I do want it to look like, it is an occupied birdhouse. So I'm going to take a little Spanish moss from the Dollar Tree and just kind of pop that in the holes of the birdhouse, just to give it that little nest feel. I'm not going to do eggs or anything in this one. It's kind of too small, I think. I don't think you'd be able to see them. But that looks cool, and it's a nice contrast against the green moss on there, I think. So there's our little rustic wood birdhouse. Very subtle with the little touches of blue on it. I like the fact that it's stained. It was really easy, and I think this is going to look so cute on the bird themed tier tray. Now, I found this at the Dollar Tree. They had like these in like butterflies, different animals, but I love the bird one. It's like a lighter color of wood, and it's got like blue, pink, and orange flowers cut out on it. It's so cute. And it's the perfect size for a tier tray. It's already got a stand. I'm going to dip a baby wipe and a little antique wax by Waverly, and we're going to do a very simple little medium stain, doing it that way over the existing wood that was on there. You can still see the wood grain through it, but it's going to make it look a little bit darker to match the finishes on the other DIYs we're doing today. So that was simple, really easy. Then I'm going to distress the flowers because they're a little bright with a little ivory, just to tone them down a little bit. And there's our little bird. I think it's so cute for a tier tray, and it's very colorful for spring. I think that's going to look great with everything else we made. And this is another one of those wood signs from the Dollar Tree. I love these. This is the same medium wood color as the first one that we made for the top of the tier tray. And then I got some of these little mirror wall stickers from the Dollar Tree with this little bird and flowers. And I thought it would be perfect to make a little bird sign for our tier tray. Now, whenever you DIY these little mirror things, they do have a film over them. Sometimes I forget, because it's a little hard. You got to kind of scratch them with your fingernail just to get it started, and then peel that off, and it's going to give you that mirror finish. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck kind of painting directly on the plastic wrap, which you're not really supposed to. Then I'm going to use that same light blue paint from the Dollar Tree. And we are going to kind of paint that in one direction with a brush. It is going to leave a little bit of a brush stroke through with the mirror showing through. So I do go over it with a couple coats to make it have a little bit better coverage. Now, be careful if you're using a heat gun to dry these, because I kind of melted mine a little bit. I didn't know they were so fragile, but you'll see in the final result. I totally melted mine a little bit. But I'm going to kind of do the same exact layout they had, because I think it's going to be the perfect size if I were to use this sign like vertically like this on my tier tray. Some flowers. I used a little bit of hot glue, even though they were already stickers. You might not want to, because I didn't know they were heat sensitive. Luckily, I was only using a small amount. Another flower right here. And then the other one is like a branch of flowers. They're all kind of connected. And it's going to fit perfectly up here at top. And there is our little bird sign. I did try to go in there with my heat gun a little bit to make sure it was dry. And you can see a little warping on top right there. That's what happened with my heat gun. It started to melt and kind of warp a little bit. So you might not want to use heat on these at all. Lesson learned. But another fun Dollar Tree spring bird item. Okay, another DIY. I found this in the spring section at the Dollar Tree, these adorable little birdhouses. I thought we could paint this with that Dollar Tree blue paint as well. And kind of distress it, make it look old too. But look how cute it is with a little bird cutout on front. I thought that'd be perfect for a bird tier tray. They have these in like different styles. I was just looking at them there today. They have like different flowered ones and stuff as well. I'm going to go over all of the actual birdhouse itself with that blue paint.
And then I plan on staining the top of the roof with some Antique Wax by Waverly, kind of making it two-toned. This paint is thin enough where it kind of provides a little bit of a stain. And some of the areas don't want to paint too well, but that's okay because I'm going for kind of like a rustic vibe on this. So I think it's going to work. I'm just trying to make sure that I have everything covered, including the base with the blue. And it has like a little rope hanger on there. I think that's cute. It's kind of in the way, but I'm going to leave it there. And then I'm just going to use a baby wipe that I dipped in Antique Wax by Waverly on the roof. It's going to give us that same medium wood stain. Super easy. And then I'm also going to use that to distress the rest of the blue birdhouse, kind of all over, just to make it look weathered and a little bit older, have a little bit more character, right? And you can always go back in there with your original color if you think that you've distressed a little heavy. It's so cute. I love it. And it's really the perfect size for a tier tray. It's just the right height. I think it's going to look really cute. I do put a little bit of Spanish moss inside, kind of like I did with the other one, to kind of make it look like birds have been nesting in there. Kind of threw the bird cut out there. I think it's ready to go, and I think it's perfect for my bird theme.
I absolutely love this birdhouse with the little carvings in there. How cute is that? And painted the soft blue. Really fun. I absolutely love it. Be on the lookout for it. These little houses.
And I told you I love this sign so much that I bought two, right? So I might as well use both, but it's too big for a tier tray. But these new signs from the Dollar Tree are perfect for all of my tier trays. They fit perfectly. Like I use them kind of horizontally on the tops, but, you know, vertically on the bottom, they still fit. They have those in all different colors, like white, black, the wood. And so I'm going to use this canvas and put it on that little blocky Dollar Tree sign to make a smaller tier tray sign for my bird tier tray. So same thing, I'm just having to remove the canvas from the frame that's on there. And be sure to save your sawtooth hangers that are on the back of your canvases because they are great little hammer-in hangers for other DIYs. Just trying to get my corners out. Sometimes a pair of pliers can come in handy there. And all I'm going to use on the canvas is the bird part. I thought we can make a cute little bird sign for the top of my tier tray. And this was kind of my inspiration piece for my entire bird tier tray DIYs. Kind of going to go with this kind of color scheme and theme for the whole tray. So I just draw that out with an ink pen on the back of the canvas, and this canvas is so easy to cut. I'm just going to go ahead and cut it down to size. I got a pretty good job done there, but I do want you to kind of see that brown wood slightly around the edges. So I'm going to go down and just trim down the sides just a little bit so that you're going to be able to see a little bit of that brown wood peek through, because I'm going to be using a lot of that color wood. I want it really a very rustic spring tier tray. So I think that looks pretty good like that. And so we're ready to put this together. We're just going to simply put Mod Podge on the back of the canvas. I probably used way too much. I always do. The Mod Podge comes out, so it's so thin. It always comes out too quickly for me. And Mod Podge that to the front of our sign. I'm just going to use that baby wipe to kind of smooth that out, kind of clean up all of the excess, but also using some of it to seal the top of the little bird sign too. And as you can see, I still had more glue in there when I kind of scrape it down. So I'm going to scrape that, kind of clean up the excess Mod Podge. I had way too much. And then I'm going to go over the top of it and just seal it down some more. And it's so pretty. I love the sign.
Once I got it all glued down and dried, I decided I kind of wanted to go with that groove that's in it and kind of cut it to look like two different boards, right? So I'm kind of feeling in the canvas exactly where I need to cut, and then just going in with my razor blade and kind of cutting that canvas down where I can kind of make it look like two parts to kind of give the little sign some more character. Trying to open it up a little bit, and then I'm going to go in with a sanding sponge from the Dollar Tree and sand it to kind of make it look rustic and make sure you can kind of see that seam in there. Just a little fun detail to make your sign look a little bit more rustic. And these blue colors are perfect to go with my coastal theme in my house. It looks really cute together. I really love this bird canvas. I've crafted with it several times, but you can even make something as simple as a tiny little tier tray sign with it. I think it turned out really cute on there, and look how beautiful that bird is on the blue. Okay, our next DIY, I got this little blue chunky bird at the Dollar Tree and this little flower candle holder from the Dollar Tree. Now, one of y'all, I'm trying to remember who gave me this idea. She did this with like a chicken. She said it looked like a nest. And I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. So I'm going to try it. I'm going to mix a little ivory with some antique wax by Waverly. Basically just wanted a tan color and I didn't really have anything. And then I'm going to go over the entire candle holder with that to kind of give it more of a nest feel, less of a green feel. So it doesn't matter what color you get. If you're going to paint it, you can make it any color you want. I just flip it over and I'm going to do the same thing here on the other side. And basically, I just want to make a very simple little nest for my little bird to sit on my tier tray. It's going to help it sit up and it's going to kind of make it look cute. Then I distress all over with the antique wax by Waverly to give a little bit more brown, a little bit more texture to it. I'm going to do that on the sides as well. Just distressing with the antique wax by Waverly to kind of give it that nest feel. Okay, we got that all dried. I thought a little bit of nesting material would look cute in there too to kind of add to it. And so I'm going to use just a little bit of Spanish moss, just a tiny bit, kind of can peek out the sides of the bird to kind of make it look like a nest. And then sit my little blue bird on there. The color is perfect for my tier tray, and I think this is going to look really cute on the top of my tier tray as well. Just trimming up any crazy filler that's sticking out, and there we go. Our little bird sitting on a nest. And I think it really does help with like the little bird nest feel and a fun way to use those little pastel birds from the Dollar Tree. I love them. Okay, the next DIY is so easy. This is a garden pick from the spring section at the Dollar Tree. They had a couple different versions. Doesn't really matter which one. This one has flowers on it. I thought it was cute. And it's so easy to use pliers to remove the little pick off these. I've used these in other spring DIYs, and now I have a cute little birdhouse that I can use. I'm going to go ahead and keep the galvanized metal. I think that's cute. But I thought we could use a blue paint pen, kind of this mint green color, and just go in and kind of provide a little bit of color on the flowers. Just to provide a little color, a little fun to the boring galvanized metal. But basically that's the only area I'm going to paint is just that little detail on there. I'm going to leave the rest of it, the galvanized metal. And then I'm going to take a little Spanish moss to fill inside. It's all open at the bottom to kind of make it look like a nest. And then I'm going to use a little white model magic from the Dollar Tree to just form some little balls and just squish them into a couple little eggs to put in there. You could always use colored Mod Podge if you wanted colored eggs. I'm going to hot glue mine in there so they don't go anywhere. Sometimes I can't find the Model Magic at the Dollar Tree, and I find it at the Dollar General as well, and I think it's even cheaper there. So I think 2 eggs, I'm just going to leave mine white, are going to be super cute in there. I'm just going to kind of glue those in the nesting material, and we have a little birdhouse that is going to be just the perfect size for a tier tray. And it was so easy to put together. Just a few small touches on this one. painting the little flowers on there blue, adding some nesting material inside, and of course, the sweet little DIY eggs inside make it perfect.
Okay, now these I just happen to have left over from Easter. I have no idea. I've had these forever. So I'm going to use them because they're kind of perfect, but just kind of showing them to you so you can kind of see how they're put together if you wanted to kind of make your own eggs. Okay, now I wanted some greenery, and Dollar Tree is really stepping up the game on the greenery. This is eucalyptus, so I thought I would cut this down into smaller pieces here. And we can kind of use these all over the tier tray. It's going to give me that kind of like tree vibe that I'm going for with all of my birds. So I just cut that down into 3 longer pieces. I'll probably use those on the bottom since they're rather large. But aren't they cute? And then I also got this little pick at the Dollar Tree as well. And what I'm going to do on this one is just kind of pull these off. This is kind of like a shorter, squatty version of some greenery. And these are going to be perfect for the top and any of the little spots all around the tier tray that need a little touch of greenery. And then since it's spring, I wanted some flowers, and I wanted to do that kind of light pink flower that was on the bird canvas. So I'm using these little dogwood flowers from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to pull them off. I want lots of them because I want to be able to scatter those all over the tier tray to bring in a little color and a little spring to our bird DIYs. Now is the fun part. We get to decorate this tier tray. I love that garland along the outside. I think that's super cute and perfect for spring. First, we're going to add the little bird canvas on the wood sign that we crafted up here to the top. I like that it's nice and low, but it looks really rustic and cute with that canvas on there. Our little bluebird here in our little nest. Super easy to make and a great use for those little candle holders. Over here, we're going to put our galvanized metal birdhouse with a little bird nest right inside. And then the little bird nest over here, I always get those out every spring. One of our little ceramic birds from Target. I'm thinking this is looking really cute. It just needs a little bit of greenery up here at the top. We're going to do some of this boxwood and a little pink flower here. And maybe one more over here to coordinate with that beautiful bird canvas. I've crafted with that a couple of times here on my channel. I really love that bird canvas. Down here on the bottom, we have our little DIY bird cage with another little bird right inside. Super fun little DIY that was really easy to do. And over here, we're going to do that beautiful spring glass. Isn't that so pretty? Glass vase. Maybe another nest right here. Perfect for the bird theme. And working our way around, we have our little wood slice that we decorated with a little blue bird on the front. Super cute. And I like the bow on there. It actually adds to it. Our little birdhouse DIY with little light blue touches with moss and a little nest inside. Looks like it is being used. And one of our little birds that we got at the Dollar Tree, the little wood bird with the flowers, perfect for spring. And working our way around, we have our little bird and flower DIY using those little mirror stickers. I'm going to toss another one of the little bird nests right here in front. And then I need a little bit more room here to decorate with this blue birdhouse, the cutout. I love that. That's probably my favorite wood birdhouse from the Dollar Tree that I've ever gotten there. I think it's so pretty. Now it's time for filler. We're just going to fill it in again with some of the boxwood and the pink flowers until this is complete. Anytime I have any open areas on tier tray, I always like to try to do something that goes with a theme or greenery. So greenery for spring goes together perfectly. And this was such a fun tier tray to make. It's definitely one of my favorite tier trays that I've made here on my channel. I think it's so cute. I love the blue eggs, the blue birds everywhere, but then you also have the contrast of the little pink flowers that we can scatter all over. Super cute and really puts me in the mood for spring. I'm going to give you a little sneak peek of how this turned out. And then during the final reveal, I'll give you a complete tour of how this little spring bird tier tray turned out. It was really fun to make. So many fun touches and items that you can use from the Dollar Tree and even the dollar spot at Target. This is one side of it, and this is the other. I love a good round tier tray like this. You could add this to your table for a centerpiece. It's going to be beautiful from all angles, and I think it looks really nice. What do you guys think about the bird theme today? I think it was a really fun theme for spring DIYs.
And definitely one of my favorites. Isn't that so sweet? I really love how that one turned out. Now, thank you so much for joining me for all 20 spring DIYs today. It's now time for the final reveal. Let me know which DIY was your favorite down in the comments below. This is my QR code if you would like to buy me a coffee, and you can find me at Crafty Beach on YouTube on all social media.
I'm driving, you're smiling, just really doing nothing. That's the thing I like about you. On the highway, it's our way, Route 66, and we keep on driving. We just do what we wanna do. Yeah, no, nothing's complicated with you. Hey, playing songs on the radio, sing along to the words that we don't know how. This brings out the wild ones. Let's just run away. Yeah, I could drive the whole along. Being with you is like being on the rodeo highways. Brings out the wild ones. I got a little crush on you. You say that I'm crazy. It's just the way that I get every time that I am with you. Your laughter takes me to heaven. I just wanna make you repeat it and repeat it again. Yeah, you make the sky so blue. No, nothing's complicated with you. Hey, playing songs on the radio, sing along to the words that we don't know how. This brings out the wild ones. Let's just run away. Yeah, I could drive the whole along. Being with you is like being on the rodeo highways. Brings out the wild ones. I got a little crush on you. On the highway, it's our way, Route 66, and we keep on driving. We just do what we wanna do. Hey, playing songs on the radio, sing along to the words that we don't know how. This brings out the wild ones. Let's just run away. Yeah, I could drive.
Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of today's Spring Crafting Marathon. I'd also like to thank all of my YouTube members for supporting my channel. Thank you so much to Jamie Job, Janae Farrington, Pamelia Wren, Donna Schreiner, Maren Christensen, Adrienne Brolt, Debbie Middleton, Red Mama, Pal Puppy Life, Renee Albanese, Jenny, Debbie Austin, and Lizette Thomas. I really appreciate your support. If you would like to become a Crafty Beach Bum member, all you have to do is hit the join button. You're going to get early ad-free access to my content here on YouTube. Would you like even more spring crafting inspiration? Be sure to check out one of these spring DIY videos right here. And until next time, happy crafting for spring.